Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Mr. Hurricane, and once again, I'm here in Madden 20 with a fantasy draft experiment. And today I'm going to be doing the inverse of the video I did a couple weeks ago, where I built a team where the first 35 players I selected were either on defense or specialists. It was cool to see how a team that you focus solely on defense right away ends up looking and how it performs. And I kind of like the idea to go through with a bunch of different ideas to see in a fantasy draft in one season, how far can you go? Especially when we compare different experiments to one another. So with the defensive team, I went 7-8-1 with the Patriots. We had a really tough division playing against, I think, Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson. So there are a lot of different factors that go into what your record's going to be. But today, we're building offense, and we're going to do so with the Baltimore Ravens as the team I'll be selecting. If you have any ideas for fantasy draft themes that I can do here, just one season of, see how far the team can go. I like the idea of going through a number of these fantasy drafts and seeing what kind of team you can build with just 1 year's time, or one draft, no trades. So I have a lot of ideas about this team. I wasn't really sure how to do the defensive team, but I at least have kind of a hierarchy of positions for this type of experiment, and I think our first round pick has to be quarterback. It's really hard to get wins without a good quarterback, and thankfully we pick at 12, so I have a lot of really good options here. My ideal quarterback for this team would have actually been Lamar Jackson, because ever since EA patched the rushing stats for the CPU, Jackson has a lot more chance to win MVP, it would seem. He gets a lot of passing yards and touchdowns, but now the bonus rushing yards and touchdowns are really hard to overcome. But it looks like we can go with Russell Wilson and have a 97 overall quarterback. I just haven't seen enough teams in this game really succeed with a lower rated quarterback. And one of the examples that always comes to mind is the Minnesota Vikings. Especially if you're a Viking fan, you probably know the last couple Maddens, like, they're terrible when they're simmed. The Vikings are horrible. And I think it's because Kirk Cousins is only like a high 70s, low 80s quarterback, and that doesn't really work well in the simming with Madden, and the Vikings routinely have terrible seasons here in the franchise. On top of that, they don't have a very good offensive line, which I think is something that is pretty important to the sim engine here. So my priority with this offensive team, and by the way, I'm going to pick the first 30 players this time on offense, not 36 or 35, because in the defensive one, I didn't realize the game would not stop you from loading up on players at the same positions like they did in past Maddens, where they would actually tell you that you filled too many players at a certain spot. So at a point, I was just drafting corner after corner to see when it would eventually not let me, and it doesn't. So what we're gonna do, first 30 offense and special teams, and I really want to make sure we have a good quarterback, which we did. I want to make sure we have a good running back and offensive line. I think the one spot or the two spots you can actually sit and wait on is wide receiver and tight end. I've had a lot of success in this game getting production out of like low 80s, high 70s receivers, so I don't plan on taking a receiver for a while. It's really tempting to go with someone like Tyreek Hill or Julio Jones in this spot, but I think the best way for us to succeed is actually going to be to take Ezekiel Elliott. If I don't take Zeke when the next round comes, I don't know who the best running back would be. I would assume maybe Todd Gurley or Josh Jacobs. So I'm actually going to go with Zeke right here. If you've simmed through some series with the Cowboys, you know that Zeke routinely leads the NFL in rushing here. And now we get Zeke. And we're going to build up the offensive line to help him out. Okay, so a few running backs went. What actually surprises me, though, is that Julio Jones is still there. I guess an advantage I have here, knowing it's going to be a one-year thing, is I don't have to worry about the age of anybody. So I've taken Russell Wilson, who's not a young quarterback any longer. Julio Jones is 30. Do you really pass on Julio here given the chance? Quinton Nelson, very tempting. And I guess one thing to think about here with my drafting here in the snake draft is that we're so close to the middle, there's not really a chance to strategize. Like if we pick toward the top or the bottom of a round, we would be able to know we have picks almost in succession. But in this case, I can't really strategize that way. I don't know who's going to go between picks. I love Trent Williams here. Oh man, I might go back on the strategy right away. I didn't think Julio would stay available. You know what? We're going Quinton Nelson. We're going to take Quinton Nelson here, one of the best left guards in the game. And I think this will be the best way for us to be successful, passing on Julio Jones. I also don't think you need a really good tight end in this game. I think it's nice to have, like OJ Howard in my Buccaneers series has been awesome for years and years. However, I've also had some success with lower rated tight ends in this game, and I might even end up with OJ Howard because he shouldn't go for a number of picks. And between now and then, I can really build up this offensive line. As far as which positions I worry about on the offensive line, I don't really have a preference. I know that for center, they care a lot about the awareness rating, and there's like this thing they put in the game a couple years ago where it averages out the awareness of your offensive line, but more weight is given to the awareness of your center. So that might be important. Is that important in the simulating? I don't know. But I think here, Jason Kelce might be the best player for us to take. Brandon Brooks wouldn't be bad. Let's go Kelce, though, with that 98 run blocking. That's going to help out Zeke. Him and Quinton Nelson. I have pretty high expectations for how good a team like this can do. I think it's a lot easier to outscore a bad defense than to make up for a bad offense with a defense. I think we've seen a number of teams over the years have really good defenses and it really not matter. All the years the Buffalo Bills have had some good defenses. The Browns didn't have bad defenses for a while. I just feel that this is going to be a lot more successful than the previous experiment. I've yet to take a tackle, so that's tempting right now. Brian Bulaga wouldn't be bad. Orlando Brown, how good is his run blocking? 84, pretty balanced compared to Bulaga. Bulaga, I think, is a better pass protector, yeah. I think I want to make sure that all of our offensive linemen are good run blockers. Let's go with Joe Staley here. We can take some veterans. It's only 1 year, doesn't really matter. So Joe Staley joins the team. Now I might go Orlando Brown. Or not. Orlando Brown was just taken. So in that case, I think I'll go with Brandon Brooks. That's 4 out of 5 offensive linemen that are pretty good. One thing to keep in mind too, as I am playing with injuries on, I wonder if for the sake of this experiment I should turn it off, but I guess I'm going to keep it on for now. Like, RB2s carry the ball a lot in this game, so I shouldn't ignore a second running back. Also, still have not taken a wide receiver, still feel like I'll be in pretty good shape. Do I take 2 running backs before a single receiver though? Not sure if that's the strategy I want to go with. So Emmanuel Sanders, especially in the slot, he could be really productive. So let's go Sanders here. At tight end, I think my target's going to be OJ Howard. I have no clue when he's going to go, but I've had success with him in this game. I'm also tempted to take Darren Waller. His ratings are off the charts, so maybe. As far as an RB2, could still take Todd Gurley, could still take Aaron Jones. I think here we're actually going to go with Darren Waller. 94 catching, 89 speed. I don't see how he doesn't produce in this offense for us. So welcome Darren Waller, who is actually a Baltimore Raven before he broke out with the Raiders. So we need 5 offensive linemen. I've only taken 1 tackle. Andrew Whitworth is still available, and I'm not going to be passing on him. So starting offensive line, taken care of just like that. As far as a second receiver, I still feel like I might be able to wait on a second. If I had to pick from these players, Deshaun Jackson's interesting because he might end up with more yards, long plays, higher yards per reception. But I think I can get more of an impact right now out of a second running back. Phillip Lindsay's interesting as a number 2, so is Mark Ingram and Marlon Mack. Those interest me the most. For Gurley, I think I'm worried about the injury rating here for him, as it's only an 85, and running backs get injured in Madden quite a bit. I've had bad luck in this game as well with Phillip Lindsay. His is 86. So a lot of these running backs have very similar injury ratings. So I think in that case, I might just go with Todd Gurley then. He'd be a really solid number 2 back here. Zeke and Gurley in the same backfield. There we go. What if I take the best fullback here too? I wonder if that gives our offense a bit of a boost. Is round 12 too early to take Kyle Juszczyk? Nope, we're going to make it happen. So we bring him back to Baltimore. We have the best fullback in the game. There are still so many good offensive linemen. You do not have to take them early at all. You could still build like pretty much a Pro Bowl offensive line out of who's available. Marshall Yanda, Brandon Scherf, Alex Mack. Wow. Even Jason Peters is available, Dwayne Brown, Deion Dawkins. So I can take some good backups, but offensive linemen rarely get hurt. I think a backup quarterback is a bit more important. And now to wide receiver. Do I go Djax or do I go with someone like Kenny Stills or Sammy Watkins? Stills has 89 catching. Stills has the highest medium route running available. Let's go Kenny Stills right here, 82 overall. He's only 27, so one of the youngest players on this team, I guess. I've thought about a backup quarterback too, like what happens if Russell Wilson gets hurt. I don't know when backup quarterbacks tend to go, but I think my target here would have to be Jacoby Brissett. I've just seen him succeed too often in franchise to ignore him. But at this stage, I think it's a little early. I think we'll go running back again. Let's go Phillip Lindsay here. We'll go 3 deep at running back. We have Zeke, Todd Gurley, Phillip Lindsay. Not too bad. A second tight end wouldn't be a bad idea. How good is Nick Boyle here? 74 speed, 84 catching. Looking at that run block, 73 run block power is pretty good. Also interested in Vernon Davis, but I think I'll go Boyle here for the blocking upside. We already have Darren Waller. Well, I guess the game heard me and someone selected Jacoby Brissett. So, I guess the only player we can count on to be the backup for Russell Wilson is Fitzmagic himself. Welcome to the team, Ryan Fitzpatrick. May you never retire and end up backing up every team in the NFL for at least a season. The biggest surprise for me is just how good the offensive linemen are that are still available. No one wants Marshall Yanda? He's going to be a backup on our team. Let's at least have a 6th and 7th offensive lineman in case there's an injury of some sort. Now we're going to take Deion Dawkins. So 7 offensive linemen. I can definitely draft 1 or 2 more for depth. I still have like 12 picks to make here until I can start drafting defense. Not until round 31. So I guess a 4th running back. We could go receiver. I've only taken 2 at this stage. It's just been the same receivers available round after round. Nelson Aguilar is productive from sims that I've seen. I'm tempted to take Sammy Watkins or Larry Fitzgerald. Even scrolling down, I find players I'm interested in. Here at like 77, Kendrick Bourne at 76 overall. I think he's one of the best like free agent pickups you can make early in your franchises in this game. I've seen him be very successful, solid slot receiver. You can usually get him pretty easily. I think here we're going to take Sammy Watkins. Good size, good speed, nothing really low in terms of ratings. So Watkins is our next pick, and I can probably think about going with our specialists here soon because most of these remaining players aren't going to play much. So when you can draft Justin Tucker, I think you draft Justin Tucker. For like the last 4 or 5 years, I've tried to think to myself to answer the question, what would Justin Tucker be worth in a trade? Like, if you're the Ravens, would you trade Justin Tucker for the 32nd pick in the draft? Personally, I don't think I could. I think Justin Tucker is just too valuable. There are only a few kickers that can separate themselves from the average. Tucker's been the best kicker in the NFL for a while, I guess, ever since Dan Bailey no longer was the most accurate in history or whatever. Harrison Butker's been good. Will Lutz seems to hit almost all of his kicks. And Aldrick Rosas was really good a couple years ago for the Giants. He actually only kicked 17 field goals last year, which is like a Madden stat line to average just over 1 field goal a game attempted. But anyway, we take the best in the game. At punter, we probably do the same. Oh yeah, we're going Johnny Hekker. Back up to Russell Wilson. Sorry, Fitzmagic. Hecker's pretty good. I guess at this stage, we can also think about a third quarterback on the roster. Marcus Mariota does tend to be good, but that is on rosters that came out when Madden was newer and Mariota was closer to like an 80 overall. He always wins MVPs, but now I don't think that he would be that good given the updated roster. I'm not sure if there's a great option available. Let's just go with Tyrod Taylor as QB3. I like how I've drafted a fullback, my specialist, a third quarterback, and I've still only taken 3 receivers. I don't even know what I want to do with my remaining receiving spots. Probably Cordero Patterson. He's a 75. That's higher than I expected. Huh. Come back to Minnesota, please. We're going to select a third tight end. Welcome to the team, Vernon Davis. All right, we're in round 23. I'm not passing on Larry Fitzgerald again. He still has a really good catching rating at 93. Can't go wrong with Larry Fitzgerald. Closing in on the chance to actually draft some defense, and Raheem Mostert was taken. I think in that case, we're going to go with Jerick McKinnon. I'd like to see him hopefully get back to his peak with the Vikings, but injuries have really been a problem the last couple of years. Really hate to see that, and I want to hopefully see McKinnon bounce back from it. I guess we could take a backup fullback, Patrick Ricard. This team is going to be so stacked on offense. I can't wait to see the production this team can put up. And I think like you could have done this a different way. I think with how many offensive linemen are still good into like the teens, I could have taken another receiver early. I could have taken Julio Jones. I could have taken somebody else in the high 80s even. So I'm not exactly perfecting these strategies on the first go around. I don't really know the fantasy draft timings that well. Let's go DeMar Dotson next. Let's go Brashad Perriman here as our 5th receiver. I have had a little success with him in my Buccaneers series. We're also going to take N'Keal Harry, who was selected in my defensive team actually as like our number 1 receiver, but he's our number 6 in this one. Finishing out the offense, we're taking Justin Britt. And my final pick here for the offensive side of the football, number 30. Who's it going to be? We're going to take Jason Witten right here. And now we can finally address defense with this draft. Who is even available? Who is our number 1 defensive player? The best available looks like Thomas Davis. But I don't think I'm going off-ball linebacker with my first defensive pick. We've got to get pass rush, secondary. I don't know how I address any of these positions. I think I'm going to go corner first. 76 overall. We're going with longtime Green Bay Packer, Tramon Williams. We can also go with Thomas Davis. I mean, I have to get some players here who have some decent overall. Davis can be our best linebacker, and if he's still available, we can go Andrew Sendejo. He is. Sendejo also played some nickel corner this year for Minnesota late in the season. We got to get this defensive line going as well, so we're going to begin with Earl Mitchell, who has decent strength at least, and some power moves, and okay speed as well. Next up, we're going to go with Dominique Rodgers Cromartie, who has, I know, been very good in past Maddens. So he's joining our team here. I know who I want at free safety. I just don't know how early I have to select him. He's only a 67 overall. I want Jaron Kearse. I'm really curious if he leaves the Vikings this year, who signs him and what kind of role he plays. He's a fun player. He's a hybrid defensive back. He's played some nickel. He can play box safety. He's really good on special teams. I just have no clue what another team would have as a role for him. Let's go Jaron Kearse. I want to make sure the secondary's as good as it can be, so DeAndre Baker is our third corner. I think another coverage linebacker is also pretty important. Really good range here, 90 speed, 86 hit power, a really fun player here. Doing my best with the pronunciation. We're selecting Foyesade Oluwakan. We're going back to the D-line this time, and we're going to add Folorunso Fatukasi. Hope I'm doing well on the pronunciation. 90 strength, 78 block shed, 73 power move, 80 tackle. We're still getting some good low 70s options here, so Josh Morrow's next. I know in some past series I've picked up Hassan Ridgeway as a player to develop, so we're going to select him here. Really just going best player available at this stage. We go Tay Davis at outside linebacker. Let's add Terrence Brooks here. Third safety, might even be a decent slot corner option. Kind of like the ratings a lot. We're going Kentrell Brothers next at middle linebacker. Then we go Miles Killebrew. Deshaun Davis, only 22 years old, out of Auburn. At number 4 corner, we're going Marcus Cooper Sr. Let's go with Malik Jefferson. LJ Collier, Derek Kindred, and we're gonna select Marcus Sherrills. He could be our punt returner. And we'll end this draft by selecting Lonnie Ballantyne. Alright, here's the team then after this draft. So I've done an all-defense draft where I didn't really prioritize pass rush, and now an offensive draft where I really didn't prioritize receiver a whole lot. Could have done some things differently, but overall, we have 5 superstar offensive linemen. We have Russell Wilson, Ezekiel Elliott, great running backs behind him. I can't wait to see what this team can do. My only concern is that maybe some of the receiving production is a little low, but I mean with this line and Russell Wilson, Darren Waller, and Emmanuel Sanders to lead the way, I can't see it being very bad. So, high expectations for this offense, but the defense, they're going to allow a lot of points this year, and we'll have to see if we can outscore what they allow. That's the big question here. Here are the specialists, by the way. Emmanuel Sanders in the slot should be our most productive receiver. Zeke's going to play as many snaps as he can handle. Alright, we begin the season. Can we actually go to the Super Bowl with this team? I don't know about that. Can we do better than 7-8-1? I definitely believe we can. So we start this little experiment and only put together 20 points on 292 yards of offense. We did not select 30 players to begin on offense and special teams to only put up 20 points. So really disappointed by this. We allowed a ton of rushing yards though to Saquon Barkley, so that explains a lot. We didn't even run the ball that well with Ezekiel Elliott. Sanders did get his production, so that's good. But other than that, not much went well for us in this game. New injury. What do we got here for the team? Jason Kelce. So that's why we go and get the good offensive line depth. This is more so what I expected our wins to look like. 35-28. Gotta put up these big points. 1 touchdown for Russell Wilson. We intercept Teddy 3 times. On the ground, Frank Gore, 5.7. Zeke does find the end zone twice. So does Todd Gurley. Emmanuel Sanders, 116, and another touchdown with a good day from Kenny Stills as well. And how about these interceptions? Who got those? Tramon Williams, Dominique Rodgers Cromartie, and DeAndre Baker. All right, 2-1. We'll take that. 21-17. One score for Wilson, one pick, just like every game so far. And we did a pretty good job against Patrick Mahomes. How? Who are their receivers? Mike Gesicki, Kendrick Bourne, Deontay Johnson. So they didn't address receiver until late either. Interesting. One down game, and Emmanuel Sanders is already frustrated, even though he has like 3 touchdowns already, a bunch of yards, one game, and he wants the football more. No promises. He currently has the 5th most receiving yards in the NFL and 3 touchdowns. I'm not sure if this is because his catches are a little bit low, 13 in 3 games. We could do better than that. Ooh, we have a breakout chance here. Okay, so we can maybe get the defense a little bit better if we keep playing well. There we go. That's another victory. It took overtime, but we win 41-35. 1 touchdown for Russell Wilson. I guess we're scoring all of our touchdowns on the ground. 3 more for Ezekiel Elliott. Another one for Todd Gurley. Sanders gets the football, 113. He could have a really big season. Can't wait to see what some of these totals look like at the end of the year. Oh, wow. We have a chance to get Zeke to X Factor. Okay. All you got to do is get 4 touchdowns or 200 yards. Okay, this is a big matchup here against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both teams are 3-1. These meetings are going to be very important in this competitive AFC North. That's not what we want to see right there. 28-21, we fall to Pittsburgh right before we play the Bengals. Russell Wilson not getting a lot of passing yards. I expected more. I know I'm using like the Ravens playbook here. I didn't want to change that at all because we are built to run the football and everything. So Zeke's getting his production, but the passing touchdowns and passing yards have been a lot lower than I thought they'd be. At least we get the victory against the Bengals. Both teams score in overtime. We get a 1-game advantage over them in the division now. 2 scores for Wilson, 3 scores for Matt Ryan, and Zeke back to 100 yards rushing. Gurley found the end zone a couple times. Not bad. And Sanders continues his great season. And we get the big game now from Darren Waller. Sammy Watkins had 3 catches, but he's getting the breakout player chance in this next game. So we'll keep an eye on that. He just needs 100 yards. I actually think there's another layer of strategy you can add to even these one-season fantasy drafts. Like in this case, one side of the ball is much better than the other. So I think that one thing you can do on defense, and I kind of did this when I could, was to go young, because even in one season, like some players can get 1 to 3 upgrades, and it's a little edge, but it's something. A lot of these veterans like Tramon Williams aren't going to get better, but he was the best available. So I guess it's just one little thing to think about. We just lost to a 1-win Seattle team. The defense let us down against Nick Mullins and 3 touchdowns. Really surprised by Wilson's interception numbers here. I think it's pretty close to his touchdown numbers on the season. So, I don't know. I guess I expected a bit more from the offense here in the passing game. I'm not sure if a different scheme would make a difference. Like, maybe San Francisco's would be a good one to use with this team. Or I guess playbook doesn't really matter. I think it more so has to do with just the scheme you choose, and West Coast power run sounds pretty good. Vertical zone run is actually a better fit, so is multiple zone run. Kind of overlooked the scheme fits here. So why don't we try the vertical zone run? That might work out. I don't know if I want to go away from power. What do the Cowboys do? Because whatever they do works. They do vertical zone run. All right, we're going to try that. They still run the football well. I've seen their passing game do well. So we changed schemes mid-season. That's as sim as it gets right there, right? Alright, there's a victory coming off the bye against New England. Wilson throws 3 touchdowns. So good news there. We're now in a 3-way tie atop this division. So just like in the defensive experiment, we ended up with a very unlucky division. We're done playing the Bengals this year, and now we tie 35-35. There was almost 1,000 yards of offense in this game. Nobody wins. 3 touchdowns for Russell Wilson, a $139 for Ezekiel Elliott. Edelman did pretty well. Amendola, Sanders, scores for Watkins and Stills. Our defense was playing better back in the beginning of the year, it seems. We only allowed 24 points here. 28's not good, but 17 is. That was against Patrick Mahomes, but I guess it's not like we were consistent. We get to 6-3-1 after defeating the Houston Texans, and again, Wilson throws 3 touchdowns. So we're getting a lot more pass production now, which is awesome. I think that gives us a good chance to keep winning games. We're 6-3-1. We easily defeat the Rams, only allowing 10 points. All right. 2 scores for Wilson, just 1 for Phillip Rivers. Zeke over 100 yards, and our run defense wasn't too bad. So here's a more complete game, one of our better ones on the season. Darren Waller found the end zone. How'd this defense do? I don't think the Rams ran many plays if our tackle leader has 6. 2 sacks on the day. San Francisco defeats us in overtime, so we can't get our 8th victory quite yet. Deshaun Watson throws 3 touchdowns. We get the 1. 2 scores. Todd Gurley, 80 yards on just 6 carries. Pretty good. Big day for Mark Andrews and Raheem Mostert. There we go. We've now been more successful with this experiment than the defensive one, which I fully expected. 3 scores for Russell Wilson. He's picking up the touchdown numbers pretty well. Zeke at 94 yards with a very good average. 2 scores on the day for Kenny Stills. Defense wasn't too good in this game, but the offense gets it done. At this point, the division battle is still so close. The Steelers are 9-4, but we close the season against them. We lose to the Jets, who were a pretty good team, in overtime, and now we might have to look more at the wild card. 2 scores on this one for Russell Wilson. Cam Newton throws 371 on our defense. Elliott, 82 yards. Hasn't really had the huge games since we changed the scheme. Cam ran for 2 touchdowns. Gurley ran for 1. He's doing a lot on just a few carries. Can't wait to see his yardage total after this is over. Wow, their best receivers, Tavon Austin, Delaney Walker, Randall Cobb, and they still had like 400 yards against us. Uh-oh. 2 new injuries. What do we have? Thomas Davis and Tank Carradine. So an already weak defense just loses, I believe, 2 starters. Davis for sure. Huge victory. Another overtime finish. 41-35. I believe the second time we've had that score this season. Whoa, 152-2 for Mixon and Elliott. And then Gurley gets 3 touchdowns. I've never seen a stat line quite like this one. On top of that, Josh Gordon, 11 for a $126 and 2 scores. All right, that means we have a showdown Week 17 division title on the line. If we win, we're in. I think. The Bengals are 9-5-1, so who knows? I think we have a decent chance of at least being a wild card team. I think we won the season series against Cincinnati, though, so if we win, we should be in good shape, or if we win, we are. But if we lose, and the Bengals win, could be game over. Welcome to Week 17, everybody. It's a big game. Of course, I want to watch a little bit of it if things get interesting. We start out, strong opening drive, marching down the field. We get inside the 5 and Zeke scores. Uh-oh, we have the ball again here, end of the first quarter, after we punt a few times back and forth. Baltimore again on the move, and we have a chance to go up 2 scores. Oh, we just found the end zone again. Things are looking great. There might not be much to watch in this one in terms of drama. Uh-oh. The route is on in week 17. It's 31-7. I haven't really seen everything that's gone on. We'll check out some stats at the end of it. But I guess there won't really be a key possession here unless something big happens. We don't have a very good defense, so it's possible Pittsburgh scores. Oh, we can watch at least one drive here. Baltimore trying to put this one away. And here is Elliott up the middle. And there he goes! 45-yard touchdown! Alright, this is pretty fun. Now I want to watch more. Well, that means we should be going to the postseason. And I was thinking about how I wanted to handle playoff games for this, if I wanted to just sim through all the way to the Super Bowl. I'm kind of thinking simulate everything up until the NFC Championship game, or I guess the AFC Championship game here, and then maybe dedicate episodes to those games. Russell Wilson, 3 touchdowns, 254 yards, but it's all about Elliott today, 194 and 2, including the big 45-yard touchdown we saw there at the very end. Oh wow, we don't even get a wild card game. We actually get the first round bye. 10-5-1, we made it. Okay then, the Bucks are moving to a new stadium. What's gonna happen to the boat? Well, I guess they wouldn't necessarily get rid of the stadium, right? Like USF plays there, don't they? They totally do. And that's where the Outback Bowl is, which was won this year by the Minnesota Golden Gophers, everybody. Roll the boat, and we're going on to the divisional round, but not until we see stats on the season. Number 1 offense. I did it. I built the number 1 offense in Madden with the number 32 defense. It's kind of what you expect from this experiment. We score the most points. We have to overcome one of the worst defenses. And how do we do it, everybody? With Russell Wilson's 30 touchdown passes, with Ezekiel Elliott's almost 1,700 yards. We had so many scores. Todd Gurley, 15. 16 for Zeke. This is ridiculously good. 1 for Jerick McKinnon. Nice year for Emmanuel Sanders. 8 touchdowns for Kenny Stills. Tight end production's very tough to predict. That's why I didn't really want to take the best one, but I wanted like a tier 2 or tier 3 tight end. Not mad at these results. How about this defense, though? Tramon Williams led us in tackles. When your number 1 outside corner leads the team in tackles, usually not a good thing. 3.5 sacks led the team? No one could even get to 4? How about picks? 3 for DeAndre Baker. We got some turnovers and takeaways. What? 6 for 12? Justin Tucker, what happened? How? We only punted 36 times, just over twice a game. Not bad. Ooh, Marcus Sherrill's a kick return touchdown. Those never happen. I bet that was the only kick return touchdown all season. Nope, I guess maybe at least one more. Ty Montgomery. You know what? 3 videos, 1 video. I don't mind watching the playoff run for this team. We got to see the full season of simulating, got to see the team be constructed. This would give us a chance to watch a good team actually play. We'd see the offense and the defense. I think it would add some context and some fun without dragging on too long. So the playoff run is going to be next, and we're going to see it play out here with the Baltimore Ravens. The best part too is like the only way it goes on is if we win, which is obviously going to be entertaining at least in some way. If we lose, we're done, do something else. Kind of like the sound of that. So the Titans, this is the team they built. Derrick Henry, Tyron Smith, Zadarius Smith, Jared Cook, Marcus Peters, John Brown, Harrison Butker, Bradley Chubb. QB1 is Matthew Stafford. So, John Brown, Christian Kirk, Anthony Miller. It's a team that wants to run the football. That's for sure. They have one really good offensive lineman in Tyron Smith, Jabal Sheard, Maurice Hurst, Zadarius Smith. All right, so we've seen the simming. Now we're going to see real playoff games against the best fantasy draft teams Madden drafted against us. So we're going to continue this. We'll pick it up next time against Tennessee, and I'll see you all then. Thank you all for watching. Leave your feedback below, and again, let me know if there are any drafts you'd like to see me experiment with. I think I took the two easy options here, offense only, defense only. What else can I do here in fantasy draft? I'm sure there's some fun to be had. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.